Hey guys, today I'm going to be doing a book review on Ariadne by Jennifer Saint. Ariadne by Jennifer Saint is an imaginative retelling of the story of Ariadne, a princess of Crete, who betrays her father and city to help Theseus escape the labyrinth holding the bloodthirsty Minotaur. In doing so, she also leaves behind her sister Phaedra to deal with the ramifications of her betrayal. Ariadne is a story of two sisters, the paths they take, and the men who use them for their own glory. So, a little backstory with my familiarity with the story of Ariadne. Before starting this book, I was definitely familiar with the story of Ariadne, but all I knew was kind of the basic that I think a lot of people know, which is Ariadne's involvement with the hero Theseus and how she gave him like the ball of yarn so he can navigate the labyrinth, which was holding the Minotaur, who was like her half-brother. Yes, her half-brother. It's Greek mythology. It's crazy. So yeah, I knew all of that. You know, Ariadne, the ball of yarn, Theseus, the labyrinth, the Minotaur. That was pretty much kind of it. And so it occurred to me, because I had started the book and I was like, you know what, where does Ariadne's story go? I'm not quite sure what else there is, because I thought this whole book was going to be the labyrinth and the Minotaur. That is actually a very small part of this book. If you're thinking this is just strictly about the labyrinth and the Minotaur, it is not. That is only like maybe the first 25% of this book. So I was pretty interested to see where this book was going once it got through the Minotaur chapters, because I was like, I have no idea where it's going. I don't know anything else about the story of Ariadne. Well, leave it to me, you guys, to go spoil myself on Wikipedia. Because I had kind of finished the chapters with the labyrinth and the Minotaur, and I was just on my computer and I was like, you know, I'm going to look up, before I continue the rest of the book, I'm going to look up the story of Ariadne, and I didn't think I was going to get myself massively spoiled like I did, because yeah, Ariadne's story definitely has a lot of twists and turns, and there's other things that happen, and yeah, how her story concludes and whatnot. I was like, oh boy, I wish I had not gone on Wikipedia and spoiled myself. Because I think I would have loved to have gone into this book and been a lot more surprised with the ending, you know. Now, yeah, I did. I spoiled myself, unfortunately. You know, damn me. But that did not ruin my enjoyment, fortunately, thank God. Because I was worried it was going to ruin my enjoyment once I did that. I still really enjoyed this book. Ultimately, what this book is about, it's about a couple different things, but one of the first things it's about, it's definitely a story of two sisters, because there's Ariadne and her sister Phaedra. They are both princesses of Crete. They both have their own different personalities, the way they view life, the direction they want their lives to take. And it's about these two sisters who kind of get torn apart, because once Ariadne does help Theseus, you know, escape the labyrinth and the Minotaur and whatnot, she now kind of goes into this self-exile, like, oh, I have just betrayed my father and my city and whatnot, I need to get out of here, you know. So she, in turn, what she does is she leaves behind her sister Phaedra, who in turn has to kind of deal with the ramifications and consequences of what her older sister Ariadne has just done. In leaving her sister behind, Phaedra becomes kind of a rather bitter young woman, you know, like, I can't believe my sister has left me behind, and this and that, and now she's kind of at the whims and mercy of the men around her, who are kind of just abusing her and using her and ignoring her pretty much. Ariadne, in turn, kind of fairly early in the novel, because she experiences some things with Theseus that kind of shifts her views and whatnot, and after some of the things that go down with her and Theseus, yeah, Ariadne in turn becomes very disillusioned with men and with life and whatnot. But then she meets the immortal god Dionysus. Yeah, guys. I like to think of Dionysus as like the party god, and the guy who, you know, likes to drink wine and, you know, have parties and whatnot. the good time god and whatnot. So yeah, once Ariadne meets the god Dionysus, which is fairly early in this novel because I don't feel like that's spoiling anything, once she meets him, yeah, she kind of starts viewing life a different way, because here's someone who she feels like she has some sort of kinship with and an understanding with and whatnot. The lives of the two sisters, Ariadne and Phaedra, they handle life very differently, though they go through similar obstacles. Some of those similar obstacles being, you know, love and loss and childbirth and motherhood, you know, being married and whatnot. They face very similar obstacles, but at the same time, even within that, they are kind of handling those very similar obstacles very differently. Because Ariadne, she lives her life rather much with contentment and whatnot. She's kind of content with life and happy to some degree, but Phaedra ends up being very resentful, and she doesn't take to motherhood very well at all compared to her sister. So not only is this novel about the relationship between these two sisters and kind of the paths that they take and the choices that they make, this is also a book that examines the cruelty and the pettiness of the gods, especially towards their female followers and whatnot. A lot of Greek mythology, even though this is about Ariadne and Phaedra, a lot of Greek mythology, a lot of the kind of familiar stories that you might know, they are kind of brought up and mentioned in here because characters are kind of traveling around and they're learning new stories and tales. You know, there's a lot of gossip and scandal about things that happen. So Ariadne and Phaedra are oftentimes kind of learning some of these tales that are being brought to them and whatnot, and they're discovering all of these various different women who are being cruelly treated by the gods. For instance, if you know your Greek mythology, you know that the god Zeus, he had just a harem of women practically that he would just run around sleeping with and producing all sorts of children with. And for the most part, a lot of times his children were produced through rape. You know, if you've read all the Greek mythology, yeah, Zeus was not really a great guy because he pretty much raped about every damn woman he came across. So yeah, there's all that these women having to kind of suffer that and having children by him, and these children in turn are not, you know, happy with their fates. Even Ariadne's own mother in this is punished by God because she angers Poseidon for whatever reason, and Poseidon, he makes Ariadne's mother, he drives her to some sort of madness that she ends up, I don't know how to kindly say this, fraternizing with a bull, and that's how the Minotaur is given life, essentially, because Ariadne's mother does her thing with a bull when she's forced to do that. Poseidon is punishing her and doing that to her. That, yeah, Ariadne's mother really has no choice in the matter at all. And then even the story of Medusa is brought up in this because she angers Poseidon, and Poseidon in turn turns her hair into the snakes, and then eventually the hero Perseus arrives. Perseus, you know, if you know the story, he chops off her head and puts her head on his shield and whatnot. So yeah, all of these stories, the women that Zeus rapes, Ariadne's own mother, the story of Medusa, and then yeah, there's numerous other women kind of brought up throughout the story. All of these women, what they have in common is, yeah, the cruelty and pettiness of the gods, that because they're women and they anger a god or whatever, yeah, they are cursed with either some sort of disfigurement, like Medusa with the snake of hair, the hair of snakes or whatever, or yeah, they're cursed to live miserable lives or whatever, you know. It's not great. And Ariadne and Phaedra, they grow up hearing all of these stories and tales, and even as they grow, you know, further into their years and whatnot, they still continue to hear these tales of poor unfortunate women and whatnot. And Ariadne and Phaedra, their big thing throughout the entire novel is, okay, I don't want to be one of these women. I don't want to anger and rile up the gods so bad that I in turn become cursed and have to live a horrible life, I don't want to suffer at all. So that's constantly in the background of their minds, that I don't want to suffer, I don't want to anger the gods. And whenever they do something that they think will anger the gods, it's like they're making themselves suffer. They're giving themselves their own inner turmoil, thinking about, okay, I'm waiting for the gods to do something because I know they're watching me. I'm waiting for some sort of punishment to come down, And yeah, whenever anything bad does happen to them, they think, okay, what have I done to anger the gods, to live this way? So yeah, overall, I absolutely loved this book. It was so well done. I think it has a really nice pace and flow to it for the most part. I think it has a very strong beginning and a very strong ending, and I do think it's kind of somewhere in the middle, that it drags a wee bit for the most part. Not to the point that it's boring, because I don't think I was ever bored with this book. But yeah, compared to the very beginning and end of this book, because the pacing is just so quick and just so intriguing, it's something constantly going on, then yeah, the middle does feel like it kind of drags a tiny bit as things are trying to be set up and characters are, being introduced and whatnot. So yeah, I love the whole layout of the book in general. I loved all the various different relationships and the complexities of all the relationships. I love the dynamic between Ariadne and Phaedra, how the two women choose to live their lives, the choices they make, their similarities and their differences. I love Ariadne's relationship with Dionysus once he appears, for better and for worse is all I'm going to say. And as I already mentioned, I had accidentally spoiled myself about the end of this book, and fortunately I still enjoyed it, but I would have loved to have gone into the end of the book with my mind just being absolutely blown, like, what? Oh my god, wow. Can't believe that happened. And yeah, more than anything, what I particularly liked about this book was definitely kind of the themes of the book, because it's definitely a book about sisters and about the power of women, the power of female friendships and whatnot, and the wrongs that women have to endure from the Greek gods and whatnot when they anger them. So yeah, in general, I think this is a pretty fantastic retelling. I think it did its job to tell a really compelling, interesting story. And yeah, like I said, I think a lot of people know about Ariadne in general, with the Labyrinth and Theseus and the Minotaur and whatnot, but I think a lot of people don't know about the rest of it, because I was certainly in that category. So yeah, I loved kind of seeing her story unfold in the direction it was going to go. So you guys, that is it for my book review of Ariadne by Jennifer Saint. In the comments below, have you guys read Ariadne? Did you love it? Did you hate it? And yeah, let me know, what's some of your favorite mythology from Greek mythology, some of your favorite stories that you would love to see maybe adapted into some sort of book in the future. So that's it for this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and if you like this video, you may like these other videos. Bye guys.